with our decision making as we move forward. We received some really good feedback already from just the presentation we sent yesterday. We've added that to the communication we've had, whether it's through conversations or email or in person at times from you, our community. So all of those things, since we've met last month and there's a lot that's happened, we hope that we can answer those questions that we have answers to today. And then if for those questions we still are waiting for some more direction, we'll be very open and direct with you in our responses to some of those questions. But it's as simple as that. I really appreciate this opportunity to engage in this conversation on a monthly basis with our community. It makes us proud to serve you, and it takes a village, and we can't do it without your feedback and getting the pulse from you at home. Always, but especially now, during this sort of long distance relationship that we've all come to know. So with that said, we're going to jump right in, just do something a little fun here. We'll spend a minute or two on this quick welcoming ritual. Flashback, high school days. What was your jam? What was your song? Don't be afraid. If you've been out of high school for a long time like me, I'm going for it. Let's hear it. So we'll spend a minute here quickly kind of going through.
What was yours, Mr. Camacho?
I'm a musician. I love music. I love all genres, but my high school jam, cruising back and forth to school in my buddy's Jeep, was My Prerogative by Bobby Brown.
Nice.
Oh. Every time even if I hear that now at a wedding or something, I feel like I can still dance like I did then, but it's not true.
Prince, yes.
Prince, awesome. REO Speedwagon. Such an 80s baby I am too. I just love the big hair bands and, Def Leppard and you name it. It was awesome.
Yeah, you too.
You too. Oh my gosh.
This is my cohort.
Leanne, that is my band now. We played that some years back. And just the intro to Where the Streets Have No Name, I've used it actually on several presentations throughout my professional career, just as an opening. So maybe next month, that'll be the opening guitar riff. Nirvana, awesome. Yeah, Def Leppard, there it is. For those of you that are familiar at all with San Luis Obispo, I grew up in Pismo Beach, went to Arroyo Grande High School, but there was a place called The Graduate, very popular with the college crowd up there, and it was all ages, and that Def Leppard, Pour Some Sugar on Me reminds me of that era, so pretty fun. Okay, thanks for jumping in on that. It's always fun to see what's on your mind and kind of what your answers are. I think it just, it's awesome to reflect on stuff like that, so thank you. All right. So really quickly, do you want to do the introduction?
Sure, yeah.
So I introduced this person really quick. I introduced this person last month, and then I must have scared her away or something, but anyway, I'll pass the baton.
Yeah, so Miss Rachel Miller, who is actually in here somewhere, was with us in the front office as a receptionist for a very short time, and then we had a need in the AP office for a brand new secretary, and we actually stole her on over to our end of the Student Services building. So Rachel started with us actually earlier this week, so we're so excited to have her. She has kids in the district. She's over at the district office as the receptionist, so she knows her way around SUHSD, and we're just so grateful to have her on the team. And that is her right in the middle there in her Peter Pan pose. We are presenting Rachel Miller. Oh, and there she is. She's on camera. Hey.
It was like, welcome, bye, welcome again. Awesome, congrats again, Rachel. All right, Alexa, you're so sweet always to join us. I know we're pulling you out of class, so let's run right into that ASB update. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Camacho. My name is Alexa Mendez, and I'm honored to be serving as the current ASB president. And in ASB, we're working really hard to try and connect our students creatively while we are in this distance learning format, and we will adjust as we go into that hybrid model as well. So today I'm just going to go over a couple of fun things that we've been doing this month in October, and then what we're looking forward to coming up in November. So first thing, at the very beginning of October, actually on the last day of Coffee with Camacho, we had our club fair. This was a great opportunity for our students to get connected with clubs and meet new people, where we had over 40 clubs in attendance. And it looked like having a bunch of virtual booths. So we tried to replicate our typical format as much as possible by having Google Meet links for each club. Then the club presidents presented about the clubs and how to get involved, and students who are interested could look at the list of clubs and decide which Google Meet links they wanted to join and learn more about and get connected with. Then we also had our FIFA tournament this month. We usually have a 3 versus 3 soccer tournament during the fall season. So this was a fun way for us to translate that virtually by doing a video game soccer competition instead. We've also been continuing our Q&A session on Instagram Live on our @SDA Student Life Instagram. And in the past, we've had the ASB Executive Officer team do a Q&A. During the month of October, we also had our elective teachers featuring Mr. Wright, Mr. Jordan, and Mr. Germano, as well as our awesome pals joined us for one day, and our wonderful admin team joined us most recently this past week to talk about both reopening and getting to know how they were like in high school, just so we could get to know them a little bit better. Those Q&As will continue throughout the remainder of the semester, and we do them on a bi-weekly basis. During October, another fun thing that we had going on was our projection nights. And my personal favorite was the Halloween-themed one, where we had projections of people in Halloween costumes and spooky music on the side of the Arts and Humanities building for people to drive down Santa Fe Drive, notice that, and then stop in the front parking lot to pick up some candy from ASB. We also brought in Keith Hawkins, a motivational speaker, to our school, and he talked about hope, and he has a very motivating story. He's very passionate about what he does, and it was wonderful for us to be able to bring that light to our students, knowing that many of them are struggling to find hope during this time as well. And that speech was on our YouTube channel, which I'll talk about where to find a little bit later. And we also had a Q&A with him following the event, so students could get to know him as well and ask any questions that they had that weren't particularly answered in the video. Then we had our homecoming assembly, which was one of my personal favorite events from last month. And this featured all of the typical aspects of an assembly, just in a virtual format. So you can see in the circle on the right, we had our dance team give a performance. We had Manny the Mustang. He was there with us when we surprised our senior athletes at their houses for our sports video. Even though the footage looked a little bit different, we were still able to have some ASB students go and surprise one senior representative from each of our fall sports with some balloons, a t-shirt, the mascot, and really to celebrate them and their achievements. We also had our student life section with the student life video, including student interviews from all grade levels, having them trying to guess teachers' Bitmojis and asking fun pop culture questions. We even saw Dr. Barnett do some awesome gymnastics for us with our featured talent of the assembly, and that was a personal favorite part. And we also had a fun teacher segment as well, and that video clip is posted separately on the YouTube channel, and that just talks about some of our favorite teachers' experiences during distance learning. We also had a pumpkin carving contest towards the end of October, and the winner was delivered a giant, well, not a giant, but like a plastic pumpkin filled with candy to celebrate Halloween. Finally, we had our virtual tour posted yesterday, so also on our YouTube channel. And this is super fun for our freshmen especially, but really all grades, to see how creative our students were. And most of this footage was made before we were going on campus. And before that was something that was available as an option. So you can see some great green screen work. At first, it's like, are they on campus or are they not? So they weren't on campus, and this was made during the beginning of the year. Very awesome to see, kind of giving the layout of what the campus looks like and giving some jargon that our students use, like the new building and then the new building and how that's a little bit different. Upcoming events include our Madden football tournament. That's been going on this week, and the finals are today. This is to replace our typical in-person flag football tournament. So again, kind of like the FIFA, we were able to translate that into a virtual event. Our homecoming week is coming up next week, and we'll have spirit days every day except for Wednesday since we don't have school for Veterans Day. So Monday we'll have pajama day. Tuesday will be share your pet day. Thursday will be crazy hat or crazy hair day. And then Friday will be sharing your SDA spirit day. So each of those days, we're encouraging our students and staff to send in pictures of the daily theme, and then we'll post those on our Instagram story. We also have at the end of next week, on Friday the 13th, a super fun homecoming event that will be live virtually, in place of our usual homecoming dance. And this will be kind of a quiz game show, and we'll also announce the homecoming royalty winners from the senior class. And the election for ASB positions, it is election season, so that's coming up as well. We will not be doing mail-in ballots, just to clarify. We'll be using Google Forms, and we're working on making those kinks and making sure it'll be safe and secure. So all students can run for a position. Freshmen are welcome to run for sophomore director, and they'll be able to plan the winter formal for next year. And then juniors and sophomores may run for either their class directors. So sophomores would run for junior director since they would hold office next year, and they would plan prom. And then senior directors would be the current juniors. So juniors can run to be senior directors, and they will plan homecoming, the homecoming dance, which is happening next week, like I mentioned, as well as all of the senior activities like senior tiles, senior out, and all of those great events. We also have our executive officer positions that are available to run for, including president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary. And if your student is interested in running for a position or just learning more about the process, we have a Google Classroom set up for the election, and you can see the code is there highlighted in yellow on the screen. One of the things that we are currently working with admin and still pending approval, but we're hoping to do an adopt a family this year. One of my favorite ASB traditions is that you and your homeroom are welcome to adopt a family. And homerooms then receive wish lists from their families, depending if they want a small family, medium, or large size. And they receive the wish lists, break up among the members of the homeroom or the club what types of gifts each person will get, and then drop them off, and will ultimately deliver them to North County Lifeline in Vista. And again, that's still pending approval, but that's something we're working on, hoping and making happen. And lastly, skate demo is coming up. The last day to submit a video is Friday, November 13th. And this is fun as well, since it's one of our SDA traditions to have a skate demo. We're doing it virtually this year, so kind of like the homecoming assembly. We'll compile all of the skaters' videos and show it at homeroom. And in order to submit a video, staff and students are encouraged to do so. We have some great staff videos already as well. They can join the Google Classroom using the second code highlighted on the screen with a personal email. And up in the upper right-hand corner of the slide, you can see the main ways that we're connecting with students and how to kind of check out what we're doing as well. So the first one is our YouTube channel, SDA ASB YouTube. So if you just go to youtube.com and search SDA ASB, it should come up right away. And that's where you can watch Keith Hawkins' motivational speech presentation, because that's still up on there for us, as well as our homecoming assembly, and then the specific segment of the homecoming assembly of the teachers talking about their awkward distance learning moments. Then on our Instagram at SDA Student Life, that's our primary form of communication with our students, and where they'll be sending in pictures for Spirit Weeks and where we post updates on upcoming events. Likewise, our school Google Classrooms are a great way to stay informed, especially for our students who choose not to use social media. And I'm one of those, so I love having that Google Classroom as an option. So each grade level has a specific code. 9th and 10th graders have the top code, and 11th and 12th graders have the bottom code. And we post the same material on Instagram as we do on the classroom, so we make sure we're reaching everyone as much as possible. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a great month of November.
Okay, thank you, Alexa.
Thanks, Alexa. I hope that a simple thank you captures the gratitude our community has for all of your work, the work of your peers in ASB, and of course, as a reminder, under the leadership of Mr. Keeler, who's back with us as well. So phenomenal job. Appreciate you. Keep plugging away. Happy Friday. Thank you. I know you got to go back to class, so whenever you feel like you need to go, please do. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. McCormick, Kelly, are you available for the Bridge Committee update? Okay, we'll move on. This will obviously, like we said, will be in the recording. So maybe we'll pause this a couple more seconds in the recording when we send this out. All right, moving on. Ms. Leslie Saldana, our Executive Director of our amazing foundation. Thank you. You're on.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I so enjoy hearing Alexa and seeing Alexa give her report. But I think what I enjoy even more is watching her mom, Susan, listen to her daughter give that wonderful report. Isn't that great? There is just such pride. I love that. So good morning, everyone. Leslie Saldana from your SDA Foundation. And I just briefly want to touch on a few things that are happening with your SDA Foundation right now. We are in the last days of this Mustang Fund campaign, and the response has just been terrific. Just so pleased, so grateful. It really is exciting. So I hope that you are getting our emails and seeing our social media posts, the board of directors, and specifically the subcommittee that has led this fundraising campaign and this portion. You know, we really have had to kind of pivot in our direct approach, and they have just been fantastic with some great ideas, and you are all responding. And we are just so grateful for the generosity, your words of kindness that you're including with your donations, the support. It's all great, and there's still time. There's still time to give. So really appreciate your consideration for that. The foundation typically funds after-school tutoring. It's one of the things we've been doing for years, right? With math, we've also done different subject tutoring. That's a challenge this year. And so really excited to share an opportunity that has come about with Revolution Prep, which is our test prep partner. So you may know them as offering the practice SAT and ACT, now doing those online, as an opportunity for your student just to kind of get a practice of the pacing. And they do their score back reports. We actually have another one of those coming up next Saturday, the 14th of November. But they are offering a wonderful special with respect to tutoring and subject tutoring that I wanted to highlight today, which is 5 hours of academic tutoring in almost any subject for just $1. No gimmicks, no, like there's no catch. So just really like that opportunity and want to make that available. So their tutoring program provides, it's small group learning. So it's a 3-to-1 format with a professional tutor that's there to support your students. If you would prefer 1-to-1 tutoring, the special also applies. There's 2 hours of private tutoring for $1. So we have a great rep. His name is Joe, and happy to, I've included flyers and a link and his contact information in our Friday e-blast that comes out a little bit later today. So keep an eye out for that. So again, in addition to our National Honor Society and the writing lab, just again, something else to consider for your family if that fits in. And lastly, there are a couple of things, again, they've been included in the email, ways to support our students. The Boys Lacrosse is doing their holiday trees and wreaths. That is around for a little bit longer. The fun alumni store, if you're looking for a fun gift. Boys Soccer has a restaurant night that's coming up next week. And so all of that, again, is in the email that you'll see. And we are just so appreciative of all of your support. So thank you.
Thank you, Leslie, you and the entire foundation board and everyone who donates and supports. Just a heartfelt thank you for all of the tangible and intangibles that you support SDA with. Before we go, so go ahead, go on. So before Vicky De Jesus, our head counselor, goes, I just want to this is regarding one of the questions that we've received recently in terms of what support is there for seniors and things like that. So let me reiterate, counselors have been hard at work before the school year started, as they typically are every single year. So they've been serving students individually and in groups and by class presentations, etc., since before school started. So if anybody's out there that's kind of wondering what's happening and feel like they're missing out on sort of, like for example, number 2 here on college admissions, please visit the counseling website, and then I'll leave it at that and turn it over to you, Vicki. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Hello, good morning, Mustangs. My name is Vicki De Jesus, and the world of counseling is always very active, is the best way I can describe it. I'm going to come back to the college piece, so I'm going to follow my agenda. So Tuesday coming up, our PALs, our peer assistant listeners, under the guidance of Counselor Ann Nebelon, are going to be providing 10-minute presentations for classes, talking about healthy relationships and boundaries, and talking about consent within relationships. So this is typically the same time of year they provide this presentation, aligning it with homecoming. So we're following our normal calendar. The world of college counseling continues. So we've been working very closely with our seniors. Right now we are working with letters of recommendations, and we just had a deadline November 2nd for them to communicate to us if they need a letter of recommendation and all the steps involved with that. I hope I placed the counseling website link on this slide and our Instagram account. We do a lot of announcements through our Instagram, certain college visits that are available. This year, as a result of distance learning, I think our district brilliantly consolidated, and we created one calendar, one college and career events calendar for all of our high schools. And so all of those visits are accessible to all students in our district. The calendar does provide additional information about, for example, there are some schools that maybe are presenting to just district students, and so they'll be highlighted. It'll say USC, SDUHSD virtual visit. So that way you know that this is a specific university reaching out to our students. The links are available on this calendar, and we've also have the calendar posted on our counseling website and in our Instagram account. Throughout the year, we will continue to provide college and career services, whether it's classroom presentations that we'll send out to you and your students or present in classrooms, as well as other individual type of counseling. We've been meeting with our seniors and families, whoever really, who would like to talk about college. So we're accessible to you. You can make an appointment to meet with us. And it's really easy to just reach out to Chelsea Levron, our counseling assistant, and all this information is on our counseling website. And my last point, I realized November, in addition to what is happening around us in our district or in our nation with elections, we also have holidays coming up. And I'm reaching out to you parents. You've got a lot going on. And as much as you can read your students, right, you can tell by their facial expressions, their body language, what kind of mood they're in. They do the same thing to you. And so I really want to encourage you with everything that's going on to pause and take a few moments to take care of yourself, right? You got to take care of you before you have the energy to take care of others. So I've posted some links and resources available on our district website that are specific for parents. And we also have a virtual comm room our counselor, Carolyn Lee, was a co-creator in creating this really imaginative, creative space on different ways to calm down. You can color, you can drop in and check out animals from, I think it was the zoo or the park in Escondido. So these are resources available to you. And again, just taking a few moments with everything that's going on to take care of yourself. So thank you so much for your time.
It's the sound outside.
I got it. Okay, thanks, Vicki. Appreciate that update. Very thorough and compassionate. Love that. Okay, so we're right on time, 10:30. We're going to spend the next half an hour really focusing on helping you make an informed decision with whether you decide to have your student come back 1 day a week. So, like I said, your feedback drives how we're going to proceed, and really, there's just a couple slides that we're going to stay on here for almost the remainder of our meeting, but we're just going to jump right in so that we can get to your answers. Before we move on, I want you to know, just kind of thinking, if you remember, the official survey will go out, and I'll recap this again, on November 16th. On the 17th, which is the second date when the survey is open, we've scheduled an evening Q&A for parents to access admin, sort of a town hall, and that'll be at 5 o'clock on Tuesday the 17th. And at that point, we anticipate more answers, more updates, and hopefully, a better way to even guide you then, because we anticipate some more information and some more clarity in terms of direction by that point. So just know that that's coming as well. So next slide, please. Shared this briefly yesterday. I want you to know we have been busy with small groups on campus, targeted groups since early October, as I mentioned in the video as well. We do have therapies and assessments. We have some special ed students on campus. We have our English learners on campus and other targeted students with specific academic needs. So there are pockets of kids that are on campus right now utilizing the distance learning hub model, and those kids have been mainly in the Mustang Commons. All right, so that's been happening since early October. Those numbers are fluctuating depending on the need. And then the other thing, as you have seen probably in our social media and whatnot, we've talked about it quite a bit. There are a lot of extracurricular activities now that are more regularly taking place on campus. Clubs are meeting on campus. Teachers are stepping outside during asynchronous time in the afternoon and gathering with small groups of kids for a variety of enrichment activities that support what their lessons and whatnot. Athletics is up and running, and Katie will talk about that in a little bit. And so anyway, that is the goal, is to continue expanding the opportunities for all kids to have an opportunity to come on campus. And it's not just for clubs, as I mentioned yesterday. It's not for existing groups and so on only. We are thinking of ways, for example, to get our freshmen on. There's a lot of freshmen that didn't go through our tours last winter and haven't really been on our campus. So we're thinking of ways with ASB as well, how in addition to a virtual tour, which I know has been done a little bit, how do we get other groups of kids on campus for some fun activities in a safe way? So there's a lot of planning, a lot of discussion, a lot of concern over how we do that. So it's taking a little bit of time, but we are moving in that direction very steadily. So I do appreciate that. I wanted to share that with you. Okay. You want to touch on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to share a quick update on athletics because I know that a few parents submitted some questions through the survey. We do have athletic credit for PE up and running for our season 1 sports. So as you may know by now, our 3 seasons for the year have been consolidated into just 2 seasons that is organized by CIF. So right now our season 1 sports do have the opportunity to start up athletic credit for PE. We're still working with coaches to see how we can accommodate, look at facilities, gauge interest. Just yesterday, cross country kicked us off with athletic credit for PE. down on our field, run by our longtime cross-country coach, Gordy. And that program is being overseen through the AP office, but supported by our coaches. And it was great to see some students on campus, and we're looking forward to expanding that opportunity for our Season 1 athletes. Season 2 athletes will have that opportunity along the same timeline, looking at around February, 6 weeks prior to the start of the season. We'll initiate that opportunity for athletic credit for PE for Season 2 athletes. So just wanted to give that quick update there. We're looking forward to expanding that for Season 1.
Okay. As we move into the next slide, we're gonna sit on the slide for a little bit, but we're gonna focus our comments on responding to the questions, the various questions that we've already received since yesterday's presentation went out. So facilities and student safety, I'm gonna have Katie, that's her lane, jump right back in.
Yeah, absolutely. So we received a lot of questions for some more specifics and details related to safety and facilities. And before I begin to provide some updates, I do want to share with you that we are compiling a family guide that covers all bases from safety, facilities, instruction, that will be sent out to you prior to January 4th. But just a quick kind of recap on some of our facilities questions that came our way. Our HVAC and air filtering updates. So our HVAC and air filters, our air filters are MERV 8+, and they reach up to MERV 11 efficiencies, which means that air is cycled through about every 20 minutes in most of our buildings. Any building that does not have HVAC has received a standalone HEPA filter, and we're actually seeing, as recently as yesterday, more HEPA filters landing in classrooms that have HVAC. So we're looking at having each classroom with an additional HEPA standalone filter by the time students return on January 4th. Our room capacity is still under review and being determined. Generally speaking, following the 1 meter distancing guidelines between students, we're looking at around 20 students per classroom on average there. That is partly part of our consideration for reopening 1 day a week on our campuses to make sure that our classrooms are able to host all of our students. In terms of the cleaning and sanitizing of classrooms, there were some questions about the frequency of that, and that will happen once daily at the end of the day. Our custodial crew will cycle through all of our classrooms and all of our common areas and clean and disinfect. Our classrooms will not be disinfected between periods, and we will in a moment talk about what the flow of our school day will look like once students are back on campus. We received some questions about temperature screenings and masks, symptom screenings, and before I go into all of this, I do want to share with you that all of our processes and protocols are guided by those CDPH guidelines. So I encourage you to, dive into, of course, our information, but to get some additional background information, you can look at the CDPH guidelines for schools and their reopening framework as well. So our staff, every day that they arrive on campus, have their symptoms screened and their temperature checked, currently by our health tech. When we're looking at expanding our reopening in January, we're looking at having a second location. All of administration is trained on symptom screening for staff and for students. So we're looking at having that second station for screening of our teachers as they arrive to campus. And then our students, upon their arrival, they will have a symptom screening, but it will not include a temperature check. That temperature check is expected to take place at home by the parents each morning, and if a student has a temperature above 100 degrees, they should not be coming to school. All of that is detailed in our health and safety agreement, which you can find links to, and we'll send that out as well in our follow-up. We had some questions about mask exemptions and teachers wearing masks. So masks are going to be required for staff and students unless they are exempt. We're still looking at criteria for exemptions and awaiting some guidance there. But there will be students that are exempt from wearing a mask, and teachers will be informed if there is a student in their class that is exempt from wearing a mask. If a student refuses to wear a mask and we do not have an exemption, they may be sent to us down in the AP office. We have thousands of masks available here on campus, and it might just be that there's a malfunction and it's uncomfortable for them, and we can provide them either a cloth mask or one of these disposable masks that I have on right now. I myself have gone through a couple masks on certain days because mine might break or become uncomfortable, and I just replace it with one of our disposables. In terms of monitoring the wearing of masks and social distancing, we do have 2 full-time campus supervisors here on campus, and of course administration will be out supporting the monitoring of that physical distancing and wearing of masks. But we do expect that our students uphold the social contract, and we'll have signs everywhere related to wearing their facial covering. Students are not required to wear their masks as they're eating at lunch or nutrition break, but otherwise they should be on. Following some additional questions on family notifications in the event that there is either a positive COVID result on campus or a student or staff member that is a close contact of a COVID positive individual. All of our processes, our action plans, our communication tree are guided by that CDPH guidance for schools and the reopening framework. There are action steps laid out, and actually on one of the slides in our presentation, we do have a decision tree for when students are exhibiting symptoms on campus and what the notification will look like. So if your student is in a classroom with a student that tests positive for COVID, we will work together with the district office, our district nurse, our site administration, our health tech, our teachers, and identify any close contacts of that student. Those close contacts will receive a personal phone call and a follow-up notice, and anyone in the classroom or in the cohort that is not identified as a close contact will still receive a communication of a possible exposure. Now that said, if you do receive a communication of a possible exposure, you will not be required to quarantine, but you will be encouraged to reach out to your healthcare professional and make a determination as a family. If you are not a close contact, you will not be required to quarantine. Along those lines, there were some questions about considerations for our school closure. And again, that CDPH guidance and the reopening framework has some detailed information that our district is being guided by in our determinations. Now, the guidance is that schools may close if there are multiple positive COVID results in multiple student groups, or if 5% of the school community tests positive for COVID. The determination to close a school would be made in collaboration with our district office and public health, and will receive direction and guidance through those avenues. Our main priority here will be continuity of our education and falling back into a distance learning model at home, should that be something that is taken into consideration. Like I said, our district COVID liaison, our district nurse will be working very closely with public health to receive some guidance in the event that that is a consideration. So that is all that I have from the safety and facilities lane. That was sure a lot. We'll take a look in the chat box as well. I'm not sure.
Keep going with let's keep responding in the order that we're doing.
Okay.
Okay.
Excellent. Sure. All right. Our next set of comments are around sort of staffing bell schedule, our distance learning bell schedule, and what it's going to look like for students. So I'm going to have Jeremy talk about that.
Okay, so it's important to note that students will be following their same schedule that they're doing right now. And when they are on campus one day a week, they will be moving between those classes. They're going to be on the same schedule. So it's important to note that, just to be clear, they're following the same schedule. The student support and learning, that time in the afternoon, 1:45 to 2:45, that time does still exist in our schedule as well. So that is the opportunity to meet with teachers still does exist there for the office hours instruction. Also, we do realize that we may have issues with staffing coming up at certain points where some staff do have to go into quarantine for a period of time, and we will be working closely to make sure that we are filling our positions and covering what we need to do. And that sometimes a staff member may need to take leave. We are working through that with some staff currently at this time.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, Jeremy. So the focus, as I've mentioned many times, is always on the health and safety of our students and staff. And no one wants to think about what happens after someone might quarantine, but the reality is it may happen. So what we are committed to doing is making sure that we have marked every box in terms of safety for a teacher and for a student when everyone is on campus. And one of the things I mentioned in the presentation yesterday is the need to maintain the integrity of our instructional program, and the way we do that is simply by keeping our own very highly qualified and talented teachers. And it's not a secret that subs right now are far and few between. And that's been a real struggle just during, for all districts in this county. I'm sure it's state and countrywide. There's not a lot of qualified folks out there that are willing to come back even as a sub for a day or a short amount of time to a school campus. So those are all very, very real challenges for us. The focus is to do everything we can to maintain the high quality of our instruction with our highly qualified teachers, and that's our commitment. All right, so there were some other questions about the decision that needs to be made on the survey. At the end of this month, I'm going to have Celeste talk about some of the answers to some of the questions that were there.
Absolutely. So regarding student grouping, so just a refresher, I know you probably watched the video, but students are going to be divided into 4 groups, so 25% per group, and students will be invited to attend school 1 day a week, depending on which group they're in. So for right now, we're saying group 1, group 2, group 3, and group 4. The way that's going to be determined, we're not sure yet whether those are going to be broken down by the last name, by alphabet. That's a possibility. We're looking at some other options as well, but I can assure you that siblings will be in the same group. We know it's important to keep a family together for transportation purposes, things like that. And it will not be a matter of families or students being able to select what group they're in. That's just, as I'm sure you can imagine, unmanageable. And so we will be making those determinations, and more information to come.
Okay, thanks, Celeste. So one of the things that came up yesterday as well in the feedback is the fact that our counties recently moved into the purple tier. We are an open district. We have been open. Our planning right now is for the continued the expansion of student access to campus, and therein lies the conundrum. It's now we have a new date and the question that came up was, why is the date now January 4 rather than November 30th or even the 16th? Those dates have been thrown out there in the last 3 or 4 weeks, but and so those decisions are made with our governing board, our executive cabinet, along in collaboration with our teacher association and our classified association. So those are all very critical conversations and decisions that happen at that point, and we are here to serve the board's will, and that's what we're planning for. And therein, sometimes, that's why we have contingency plans. It's why all things are on the table, and we do our best to be ready to execute with the data that we have in front of us. So that's our commitment, and that's what we're doing. So with Purple Tier, we're just going to have to keep an eye on that and what happens if there's additional guidance that comes, whether it's more restrictive or whatnot. We are at that mercy, unfortunately, and that's what we've got to meander through. So that requires more patience and more understanding, and more importantly, more communication from this administration. And again, we are committed to that. The question about the survey. So right now, we are operating with the understanding that a family would make a decision to have their student stay at home or come back to school 1 day per week for the remainder of Q2, which takes us through the end of January, but also with the assumption or the understanding that we would head into Q3 under the same model, unless, of course, guidance changes. So we're moving forward thinking about Q3 with that assumption. So that said, we've got a little bit of time before we send the official survey out. There's a lot of questions we still have as an administration, and by the time that survey goes out, it will be clear what you're making a decision for in terms of duration. Is it just Q2? Can you wait and decide to come back? Can you wait and decide that your student not come back until Q3? All of those questions will be answered and articulated in that survey. And then let's see. So there are other questions about making a commitment. If I'm a parent, which I am in our district, I've got a sophomore and a 7th grader. If I make the commitment to have my student come back and later change my mind and don't want them to go to school 1 day a week or whatever it might be down the road, the question is, do I have that right to do so? Right now, I would say yes, and I'm just venturing. It's the reverse, or it's the other question that is challenging, just from a safety standpoint, from a numbers standpoint. Just if we're just looking at math, safety, and capacity, a lot of the things that Katie was talking about. So, for example, if I choose that, right now I'm committed to my student not being at school at all. I want them to distance learn from home 100% of the time. And let's say, at the beginning of March, I decide, well, maybe I'd like my student to go back in whatever model we're in at that point, 1 day or maybe even more. Can I make that decision? And that one is a more problematic one for us because we are, the assumption would be that we're still operating under capacity restrictions, et cetera. So there's a lot more discussion that needs to happen with that. But what I think of it, it's sort of a parallel for me with master schedule, for example. In every spring, we allow every student to select what courses they would like to take for the following year. Then from that point forward until school starts at the beginning of the next school year, we really work hard to make sure that we are offering and staffing more properly for the courses that our students want to take. And there's a lot of, that's one major piece of the magic of developing a master's schedule. And so therefore, that's just one example of how complex this is moving forward and why I'm almost certain of it that we will ask for your commitment one way or another on that survey. So we would either ask that you make an informed decision about your student accessing distance learning from home 100% of the time, or accessing distance learning from school 1 day per week, with the remaining days in any given week being distance learning.
Can I interject?
Sure.
Because I know that you were in negotiations, and I don't know what the answer to this is. A lot of questions are coming up as to whether the teachers union has approved all of this. Like, is this going to happen, or is it still in negotiation?
Is what going to happen specifically?
The come back on January 4th and 1 day a week.
I can't speak for, even though I was part of that, I can't speak for the final, what the final agreement may be. But that is, from my understanding, what the goal is. And so therefore, that's exactly what we're planning for.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. You know, I know this is all challenging. There's no doubt about that. And what we don't want to do is cause confusion in any way. And what I want you to know, as the principal sitting in this seat that represents this amazing school community, with my team by my side, and you know, in support of our classified and our certificated teachers that serve kids directly, I want you as parents to know that I hear you. I hear the gamut of feelings, of questions, of interpretations, and they are strong, but they are meaningful, and I hear you. I hear all of it. I am committed to just being as transparent as possible, answering what we can, and then committing to following up should we not have the answer. And as you can tell, there's still some things that we need to iron out, but that's our commitment. So here's what's next. In the next couple of weeks, we are really working hard on identifying what the survey is going to look like, so that you have a clear option or options about what to choose. And like I said, so there's some important dates that are coming up here that we can get to. So the survey, just to recap, will be released on Monday, November 16th at 4 p.m. That's the Monday of the last week before we're off for Thanksgiving break. On the 17th, we will do a Q&A with admin, much like this. You can call it a town hall. It'll be, you know, we'll get right to it. And if there's any updates, we'll dive right in, so that, again, all in an effort to help you as a parent make an informed decision for what's best for your child. And then you'll have the rest of that week. You'll have the entire week, if you still need it, to kind of have those discussions around your kitchen table through Thanksgiving. And then that Monday, when we come back on November 30th, that survey will close at 4 p.m. Okay. I'm going to speculate, but I imagine, much like high school selection, if you haven't made a selection by 4 p.m. on November 30th, you will likely default to learning from home 100% of the time, which is what we're doing right now. All right. Okay. I'm just going to wrap it up. It's literally, we've been at this for almost an hour. Like I said, this is we recorded this presentation. We will submit this, a link to this video, and yesterday's presentation, and some additional information that we think is relevant for you to begin to chew on over the weekend and into the weeks ahead. I expect your feedback to continue coming in. We rely on it. It's the same thing we rely on with our staff and our students. So this is a community effort, and I couldn't be more proud of how we're sort of just grinding through and doing the best we can. I couldn't be more proud of our staff and our teachers for the extraordinary efforts and the innovation that they are just, you know, grinding through, and they're still finding ways to express their love and compassion and share their talents through the content area they teach. And I just got to say, if you haven't done so, reflect on that a little bit. This is all very new still. We want to talk about best practices, and we're trying as best we can. You know, there have been some mistakes, starting with me, and that's because we're trying. So just a heartfelt thank you for all your support, and thank you for spending this time with us today. You get to watch it again at home and fast forward and stop and bot and contemplate a little bit. And we'll also, in addition to the video, send PDFs of both presentations, so that if you don't want to listen to all of this, you can just process the slides on your own. All right, before we wrap up, any remaining questions in the chat, APs?
I think we're good.
Okay. All right, we love this community. We love you. We're in this together. Happy Friday. Do something nice for yourself. Take care. Be well.